It's a new day, and that means it's time for another news cycle. And we start with the news cycle. We start on this news cycle with some updates from NXT last night, as NXT Spring Break-In was last night, and we saw the debut of Obafemi on NXT last night, which, in my opinion, Obafemi is somebody that, I don't know about you. If you have not seen it, I suggest you watch it because he was one of the more impressive NXT debuts in recent memory. Or he had one of the more impressive debuts in recent memory because it isn't every day when WWE has a shot put champion or a former shot put star. A former shot put star get in the ring and use his skills as a shot putter his skills as a shot putter in wrestling. It isn't every day when that happens. But also last night we saw what seemed to be the end of Pretty Deadly in NXT, as Pretty Deadly lost a trunk match to Tony D and Stax, which basically is sort of like a casket match. But this led to, due to the circumstances of the contest and how the show ended, it seemed very likely that Stax and Tony D wrote Pretty Deadly off NXT, and that we could see Pretty Deadly getting drafted to Raw or SmackDown in the draft this week, in the draft on Friday, or the draft on Monday. If Pretty Deadly does in fact get called up, it would not be that surprising in my opinion, as they are among the top teams in professional wrestling. And if they do end up getting called up, then it would not be that surprising, considering they are one of, if not the top teams in professional wrestling and deserve an opportunity to be on the main roster. I do think, especially if WWE is going to try and reestablish their tag team division, or if WWE is going to go the route of splitting the Street Profits or any other tag teams, they will need replacement tag teams, and in my opinion, there are very few better tag teams to replace the Street Profits with than Pretty Deadly. Speaking of potential call-ups, in an interesting tweet, Chase University leader Andre Chase tweeted, "New beginnings often begin with painful endings," which also led the people in the Cultaholic news video to speculate that this could lead to Andre Chase or even Chase University getting called up to the main roster, because you don't really know what this really means as far as, Chase U's future in NXT, because, what does this actually mean? What does this actually mean? Honestly, in my opinion, it could mean one of two things. Them getting called up, or maybe a level of aggression being added to Chase U in the coming weeks that may have not been present in the last couple of weeks, because Chase U is tired of being considered a joke. That's just my opinion on the situation. I don't think Chase University is getting called up. I don't think it's not that I don't think they belong on the main roster. I do think they belong on the main roster. But I just don't know if they belong on the main roster alone, if that makes sense. I think, if anything, if they belong on the main roster, they belong on the main roster together. As a group. They belong, Thea Hale, Duke, and Andre Chase all together, but I don't think Thea Hale is ready to come up to the main roster. Duke Hudson's finally hitting a stride in developmental, so I don't think that they belong on the main roster right now. I think they belong in NXT right now. And that it would be better for them if they stayed in NXT for the foreseeable future. But that's just my opinion. The last bit from NXT was during the Women's Championship match, Indy Hartwell caught Tiffany Stratton with on the outside of the ring. Tiffany Stratton went for a senton, I believe, and it looked like Indy Hartwell's knee buckled under when she caught Tiffany Stratton, and basically that led to some to believe that Indy Hartwell may have suffered an injury because of the fact that Indy's knee buckled when she caught Tiffany Stratton. And unfortunately, the injury seemed legit at the time, so it was questionable if Indy Hartwell may have gotten injured. And I mean, that of course went away with the idea of Indy continuing with the match, even though it did seem like she was shaken up from the injury. Even though it did seem like she was shaken up from the injury, she still was able to get back in the match and finish the match and retain her title. So I would like to extend my deepest sympathies to Indy Hartwell in the hope that she is 100% and will remain 100%, because I think her being NXT Women's Champion was a long time coming, number one, and number two, it was much deserved. Another injury update and well wishes to be sent to Braun Strowman, who during the tag team match on SmackDown with Ricochet against the Viking Raiders suffered a concussion, which explains some of the miscommunication in the match that took place this past week on SmackDown. But I wish nothing but the best to Braun and Indy Hartwell, as both of them, Braun is 100% injured with a concussion, and Indy Hartwell may or may not have messed with her knee in some form or fashion. But well wishes to both as they are on the mend. And well wishes to Pretty Deadly, who may be up to the main roster in the draft, either on Friday or on Monday. With that being said, though, that is it for the news video, and we will see you in the next one.